It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 6 films released on August 21st, 2009. And needless to say, this is not as good as the week we had last time around, but we do have a couple good movies here and there. Some really good movies, starting off with our first film here, the biggest new release of the weekend, and that's Quentin Tarantino's latest film, starring Brad Pitt, Michael Fassbender, Eli Roth, and also featuring an Oscar-winning performance by Christoph Waltz. This is Inglorious Basterds.
That's business, cousin. Business is a boomer. Their name. The Germans call them bastards. Big target. But a man like this, punch that comes out and bursts in there blasting, never goes according to plan. Yeah, just like that. From director Quentin Tarantino. Brad Pitt. Oh, yes. Inglorious Basterds. Rated R.
I think it might be some of his best work. Maybe not, but that's a line from the movie if you haven't seen it. But this is a story that takes place in an alternate history of two converging plots to assassinate Nazi Germany's leader at a Paris cinema. One through a British operation largely carried out by a team of Jewish-American soldiers led by Aldo Raine, played by Brad Pitt, and another by a French Jewish cinema proprietor, Shoshana Dreyfus, played by Melanie Laurent, who seeks to avenge her murdered family. Both are faced against Hans Landa, played by Christoph Waltz, an SS colonel with a fearsome reputation for hunting Jews. And, this is Quentin Tarantino doing what Quentin Tarantino does best. This is probably, overall, his last great movie, in my personal opinion, because, then again, no, he did Hateful Eight. I wasn't a big fan of Django Unchained, and I just thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was just okay overall, but compared to some of his best works overall, this really isn't quite up there with stuff like Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown, but it's a really good movie regardless. I mean, you got a great cast. Brad Pitt's... I cannot speak right now. Brad Pitt is doing a very good job handling this role. You got some great young stars, and most people wouldn't have known at this point. Melanie Laurent doing a good job playing Shoshana Dreyfus. Michael Fassbender, Eli Roth is very good in here. B.J. Novak's also one of the people that works under Brad Pitt's battalion. But the big star of the movie easily is Christoph Waltz, and I mean, this guy works very well with Quentin Tarantino. I mean, two of his movies he was in, he won 2 Academy Awards for. And Django Unchained, I don't like that movie that much, but he was definitely one of the stronger things about that movie. But here, he's great as Hans Landa. He's got great lines in this movie. He can be very threatening while also being very charismatic. I mean, the best line of his in the movie is when he's like, "Now that's a bingo!" Like, I like that line. I love that line so much. But the action overall is really good. It fits right into Quentin Tarantino's territory, what he does best. It's a really good movie. It's a really good, engaging movie. It's a film that just holds up very well. And hey, Mike Myers is in here, so he gets a little bit of a redemption after The Love Guru the year before. It's granted a small role, but hey, it's a step in the right direction overall. But yeah, overall, this is a really good movie. One of the best, maybe not one of the best movies of the year, but very close. I mean, 2009 was a very good year for movies, but this is definitely one of those films that, yeah, it's definitely right up there with some of Quentin Tarantino's more enjoyable works overall. Maybe not one of his best movies overall, but certainly one that I really enjoy a lot. Definitely one of the last really good films of his that I really do like. The other one being The Hateful Eight, but that's Inglorious Basterds. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And now we're going to the crappy movies. Robert Rodriguez's Shorts.
Hey guys, look! It's a wishing rock. Make a wish, and then it comes true.
From the director of Spy Kids.
I wish one of us was super smart. It is I. You're hearing me with your mind.
More adventure
I wish you long arms!
than you could ever wish for.
Say hello to my little friend!
Shorts.
I wish I had telephonesis! Telekinesis, you dummy!
PG starts August 20th.
I mean, kind of the trailer gives you an indication of why this movie doesn't work. It's a story where you have a rainbow wishing rock that ends up in the possession of different people, where the wishes have various results for those who make the wishes in a series of shorts. And they're literally shorts because they're little segments. Like, you'll have a segment involving John Cryer and Leslie Mann as a couple. You'll have a segment involving James Spader. William H. Macy also has a segment in here. So does Kat Dennings and Jimmy Bennett. This one is just not enjoyable, really. I mean, even think for the kid audience that it's attached to. I mean, I'll say this, it's slightly better than Shark Boy and Lava Girl is, but at least Shark Boy and Lava Girl had some funny, over-the-top moments in there that kind of made it worth it. I mean, the line reading from the kids in that movie are much more funnier. You know, send them to the principal's office and have them expelled! Like, that type of stuff. And George Lopez is pretty fun, playing a fun, over-the-top character in that movie. This one, it really doesn't seem like there's a direction for this movie in particular. And, I mean, I guess the kids can enjoy it, but overall, the adults who really like Robert Rodriguez's work, I just don't see it in here. I just didn't think it was really worth it. I thought it was kind of bland and mediocre. I mean, there's nothing really all that great about it. Some good ideas overall, but never enough for me to say that this is one that I think kids would really like. I don't think really the kids overall will really get into this, and you can kind of see why they dumped it out in the middle of August. Usually, when you open a movie this late in August, a kids movie in particular, you're not really expecting a whole lot from it, and it didn't do bad business overall. It did make its budget back, but even then, this is one that I think most people probably forgot about almost immediately. It's not one of Robert Rodriguez's better movies overall. And, hey, it's at least better than his Spy Kids movie coming up after this. But anyway, that's short. So let's go ahead and move on to another bad comedy that came out this weekend, and that is Grad.
It is my great honor to welcome you to our college graduation ceremony.
Everyone say overpriced education. Talking about the big interview.
Peppermint and Browning Publishing.
Wow. It's a ride.
I'm riding Malby. I have an interview at 10 o'clock.
Have a seat with the rest of the applicants. Why do you want this job?
I'm driven, full of ideas, upbeat. Most importantly, I'm incredibly enthusiastic about the work your company is doing.
Really? Like what?
I mean, that's literally what it feels like this character is in this movie. Like, she literally thought she had everything she wanted and then some, and then you get a situation like that, and, you know, she's just sitting there like a deer caught in headlights. I probably should have just done this. Like, no, let me do that again. That's probably what her action should have been like here, but this is Grad. This is a film where you have Alexis Bledel starring as a recent college graduate who moves back in with her family when she figures out what she wants to do next. She's just graduated from college. She wants to get this job at a book. I think it's a book company. And then, you know, you see it in the trailer there. This person says, "Okay, well, what else can you do?" And like, she's prepared for this, but she's not prepared for the interviewer. You know, asking questions out of left field. So you got to be prepared for that type of stuff. I mean, even in a regular job interview, you have to be ready to answer those type of questions. And part of the problem with the movie is that it has a good idea. It's a good concept to have an idea where you think a college graduate's going to have the right idea of where they want to go in life, what's their next direction overall. Hell, even a high school graduate can be very much in that same situation where you see a lot of the ideas of, you know, where do you want to go with your life. I mean, I had that happen to me when I graduated high school, and I went to community college for a couple of years, and then I didn't finish community college overall, but yeah, I mean, this could be a really good idea for a really good movie. You know, show what happens to these people where, you know, okay, you prepared for the future, so what happens when the future says you're not ready to head into this direction that you think you're going to? And the film just doesn't do that. It just kind of just takes the easy way out of it. It doesn't ask the people who are this is going to be attracted to the questions that you want to know. Like you're about to graduate from college or high school. What's your next direction in life? I mean, and unfortunately, it takes the predictable rom-com route. This is like it almost takes a My Girl type of route, because she ends up she has this boyfriend, but she ends up falling in love with another guy who and you know it's not going to turn out in the end. And it's just, the whole movie overall just takes an idea that should be very easy to put together in a movie and just doesn't do it well at all. And it's a shame, because I like Alexis Bledel. In fact, there's a lot of good people involved in this movie. Jane Lynch, Michael Keaton, Carol Burnett is in this movie. Carol Burnett, like, you've got a comedy legend in this movie, and this is the best you could do with it? And the weirdest thing about it is this is directed by Vicky Jensen, who is a name you might not be familiar with, but you have definitely seen her work before. She's mostly known for her animated work. She's done stuff like the Shrek movies, Shark Tale, worked on stuff for the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Ren and Stimpy. This is a woman whose work goes all the way back to 1977. This is her first feature film, a live-action feature film as a director, and this is the best you could come up with? I mean, I just maybe think the script was just not very well thought out. I think they just wrote this because they knew that this was going to catch the tween audiences no matter what, and it didn't. It was a critical and financial failure, and you can kind of see why from that trailer alone, the full trailer overall. But other than that, though, yeah, this is a film that should have been much better than it actually is. It's a film that should have been a movie where they said, okay, for you college graduates and high school graduates, watch this movie, and we're going to give you a life lesson of what happens if your plans don't go the way you want to. I think just the script overall really was just not well put together here, and that doesn't really matter who you would have put in this movie, because honestly, you could put anybody in this movie and it probably wouldn't have worked. I know Amanda Bynes was at one point going to be in this movie, but unfortunately, you know, she passed on it, and supposedly the script was rewritten 15 times, according to Ivan Reitman, who's the producer on this movie. This is his company, the Montecito Picture Company, and yeah, that should probably give you a warning sign right there. This is probably not going to work out as a film. And this isn't written by a hack writer either. This is written by Kelly Freeman Craig, who has later gone on to write really good stuff, like The Edge of 17. You know, she also wrote... she was a script doctor on Bumblebee. She did Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So this is not a hack writer. This is somebody who really is somebody that could actually write good stuff. She would write good stuff later on down the road. But this just isn't what it should have been. It's just a disappointment overall, because I feel like there is a good movie there, but there's just not enough there to say it's one worth checking out. It's just a film that kind of takes the safe way out and just really doesn't deliver what it should be, especially for young graduates coming out of college or high school. I feel like it should have worked for them, but it just doesn't overall. So yeah, skip post-grad. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Disney's X Games 3D, the movie. The strange thing about this is that this is not the first time that Disney and ESPN made a movie about the X Games. They did a movie back in 2002 called Ultimate X, the movie, which I did cover on this channel for that particular weekend. I believe it was May 10th, 2002, if I'm not mistaken. It was around that time. It was released in May. So here's another movie where you have a film that captures the drama and spectacle that plays out every year at the X Games, highlighting the behind-the-scenes stories of the featured athletes and the sacrifices they make in pursuit of glory and the advancement of their sports on the industry's biggest stage. And yeah, people like Travis Pastrana in here, Shaun White, Ricky Carmichael, Brian Deegan. You also have archival footage of Tony Hawk, Matt Hoffman, and Emil Hirsch as the narrator. And I mean, it is what it is, and like I said with Ultimate X, there's really not a whole lot here in this. I mean, the big difference between that movie and this movie is that Ultimate X was shot for IMAX, and this is being shot for 3D, which could probably look cool in 3D, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, there's nothing really all that interesting in this movie overall. I mean, fans of the event will probably like it overall, but it's just kind of pretty much an advertisement for the X Games, and there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out or anything that makes it unique in any way, shape, or form. Plus, I mean, I don't know, there's just nothing really about it that makes it anything that great overall, what I'm trying to say. And I got nothing else for you. This is just kind of a bland documentary, if you even want to call it that. Yeah, X Games 3D, the movie. So let's go ahead and move on to some indie films that came out this weekend, starting with Robin Williams in Bobcat Goldthwait's World's Greatest Dad.
He likes you a lot.
You don't look so good.
Well, I had kind of a rough weekend. Kyle, you ruin everything. Will you just shut up?
They're not kidding when they say that raising a child is the toughest job you'll ever know.
Trust me when I tell you this is the best Robin Williams comedy you're going to see in 2009, because the next one is Old Dog, so take that for what you will. But you have Robin Williams in here starring as a man who's learning to settle down. His son Kyle, played by Daryl Sabara, is an insufferable jerk, and Lance is dating Claire, the school's art teacher, but she doesn't want to get serious or even acknowledge publicly they're dating. In the wake of a freak accident in which his son ends up, autoerotic asphyxiation himself, nearly killing himself, doing the David Carradine thing, Lance suffers the worst tragedy and the greatest opportunity of his life. He's suddenly faced with the possibility of all the fame, fortune, and popularity he's ever dreamed of. And if he can only live with the knowledge of how to get it. And yeah, this is pretty much a dark comedy, a type of dark comedy you expect from Bobcat Goldthwait, who gave us Shakes the Clown, which is a great dark comedy from the 1990s. And while this isn't quite Death to Smoochie levels of darkness, it's definitely a movie that is really, really fun to watch overall. Let me put it this way. This is Dear Evan Hansen if Dear Evan Hansen worked and actually paid off in the end. Dear Evan Hansen is a prime example of a movie where, in a story that you're supposed to follow this guy who takes a suicide note, having it land in the wrong hands, and causing a chain of events that results in consequences, including him becoming this more popular kid, and somebody that had no idea that he should be involved in it. And it's just such a bad story because you're following somebody in that movie that you're not supposed to like at all, but the movie wants you to root him on. It's just kind of like, no, fuck no. This, however, is quite the opposite. Yeah, it wants you to root him, but it's a movie where you're not really supposed to root any of these people on, but you are so invested in what the hell is going on that you just want to go along for the ride here. And it helps you have a really great cast overall to make it work. Tom Kenny's also in here, Toby Huss, Cotton Hill from King of the Hill, Artie from Pete and Pete, Jill Talley, Bobcat Goldthwait himself is in here as well, Mitzi McCall, I can't remember the black guy's name, the black guy that was just in the trailer. I just saw his name. I don't really want to look it up if I have to. I feel like I have to, though. It was literally staring at me right in the face, and I didn't see it. Henry Simmons. Mac from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was also in NYPD Blue. But the film overall is just really funny and really dark, really twisted, and just everything you expect from a Bobcat Goldthwait movie. It's just such a sick, twisted, fun, dark, over-the-top comedy. Maybe sick and twisted is not really the right word for it, but it is very twisted and very dark, and it just... I miss dark comedies like this, man. We don't get a lot of these anymore, but this was probably one of the last really good ones, and one you should definitely check out. Definitely watch this one. It's a very underrated movie, World's Greatest Dad. So with that said, let's move on to the last film we have here. That's Jason Schwartzman starring in The Marc Pease Experience.
Good morning, students of New Ashby High School. This is the all-powerful Gribble speaking. I've taken over these morning announcements to deliver a very important reminder. It is opening night.
A movie so terrible that you can't even find a trailer for it. Paramount literally dumped this in theaters after bad test screenings, and I'll get to that in just a second. But the story here is that Jason Schwartzman stars as Marc Pease, a man living in the past when he was the star of his high school's musical. And Ben Stiller stars as Mark's former mentor, and also Anna Kendrick stars as his love interest. You also have Jay Paulson, Eben Moss-Baccarat in one of his pre-Bear roles, Keelan Coleman, Gabrielle Dennis, who you see a lot in the Old Spice commercials with Dion Cole. And the most notable is this is a movie that was one of the films that was affected by the writer's strike, so there was a delay of 6 months before the extra scenes they were going to shoot for this were going to be shot. And on top of that, this was a film where there was a lot of controversy with the studio and Ben Stiller, who was one of the producers on here. According to this New Yorker profile on Wikipedia here, in a New Yorker profile on Ben Stiller and his assistant Nick Stevens acknowledged asking the studio to bury the film to protect the star's reputation for making hit movies. So it was Ben Stiller who was the one who said, yeah, you gotta bury the film. But the completed film fell well short of Stiller's hopes. Paramount could have put it out there as their next big Ben Stiller movie, he says, but that would have been fooling the audience. Nick Stevens called Paramount to ask the studio to weigh the short-term loss of limiting the film's release after the long-term relationship with his filmmaker, and Paramount released the film domestically in just 10 theaters that week, and it grossed $4,033. So yeah, Ben Stiller was the one that said, okay, we gotta get rid of this sucker. I mean, this is... So it's not quite The Experts, that 1989 John Travolta movie where it was going to be released with Paramount with a major release, and then they completely buried the film because of how bad it is. but it wasn't because John Travolta wanted it buried. It was because the studio wanted it buried. Ben Stiller was the one who said, "Yeah, you've got to shut this down." And yeah, and watching the movie, yeah, I can definitely agree because the film is kind of bland and kind of mediocre. It's not. It really isn't the actor's fault. They're trying their best to hold it together, but it just isn't worth it in the end. And Anna Kendrick in here, you know, this was one of those movies where if I say one good thing about it, she's the one thing that really sticks out about it. And I think that's the one reason why I really came out of this movie not completely hating it overall. It's a bad movie, but you know, Anna Kendrick's in this. And she's going to show later on in the year that the Twilight movies are really the film that's holding her back as an actress because she would later star in Up in the Air, which actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, got her an Academy Award nomination. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so yeah, the Twilight movies are bringing her and a lot of the people in that cast down. But yeah, she's really good in the movie. She's the one thing in this film that I would say is the strongest part of the movie. Everything else, not so much. I mean, Jason Schwartzman's trying way too hard. So is Ben Stiller's not really doing a whole lot. But yeah, the one person that comes out of this relatively unscathed is Anna Kendrick, and she's really the thing that really holds it together in some way, shape, or form. I'm still not going to say this is a good movie by any means, but I can definitely see why Paramount dumped this movie because they knew. I mean, Ben Stiller knew this was about as bad as it got, and yeah, it just didn't work overall. Even with Anna Kendrick's good performance in this, it's not worth it to sit to watch this movie. Skip this one, the Marc Pease experience. And so, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. The next time we meet, we take a look at a couple more movies here. The Final Destination, what was supposed to be the last Final Destination movie, but wasn't, since we're now getting a new one this week in theaters at the time of recording this. We also have the sequel to Rob Zombie's Halloween, Halloween 2, Ang Lee's latest film, Taking Woodstock. We also have... I'm literally doing this. I'm literally looking at the list as you're watching it. So this is how I'm looking to see what I'm going to cover here. We have Patton Oswalt starring in Big Fan. And we also have Mystery Team from Rooster Teeth starring Donald Glover. We have, well, he's in the cast overall, but we'll take a look at those 5 movies coming up on the next show, coming up tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and the bell. You get updates when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So, with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.